Hi everyone, welcome to this week's workshop. What we're going to do today is look at the new features which are in the latest release of Quirkos, that's version 1.4, show you some of the improvements which have been made, give you a couple of caveats about what's happening with the project files, but also what I'm going to do first is show you all the way through the procedure from downloading the new version, installing it and updating it. And the process is actually exactly the same as if you're downloading it from the first time. So all you need to do is go to the website. You can actually download it directly here from the front page. But if you go to the Get Quirkos link, you'll see all of the release notes here and the compatibility for different versions of software. And you can download straight from here. So if I choose download Quirkos 1.4, now it does ask for an email when you download here. We don't send regular updates, we don't send spam, we don't send your email to anyone else. We only use it to let you know if there's an update to a new version of the software. So just put in your email address there. And now, depending on your browser, you'll see here down in the bottom left, it's now downloading the software. And as I said, it's exactly the same process for when you are updating the software to installing it for a new time. It just copies over the whole of the version that's there previously, but there's no changes made to your project files, so you can still keep working with your projects. Your list of recently used projects will still be there, and you'll also won't have to enter your license code. Or if you're still using the trial, you can also update and still use the same 30-day period of your trial. It updates the software, doesn't touch the data or the licenses at all. So this is downloaded now. So you see on the bottom left here, here's the file, and I can click that to open it. You'll get a prompt like this on Windows and a slightly different prompt on Mac telling you that this program has come from the internet. What you want to make sure is that it does say here the verified publisher is Quirkos Limited, and obviously don't download from any other dodgy parts of the internet. Make sure you always download from our website. And when you selected that, you'll get this startup wizard here. I'm just going to minimize this so we can see what's going on here. And all you have to do really is click next through the procedure here. So here's the license agreement. So you should make a quick note of that. It's a fairly standard license agreement. Choose to accept the license and then choose the next button. And then it asks you where you want to install it. Now, if you've installed your previous version of Quirkos to the default place, which is in Program Files Quirkos, then you should do exactly the same for the update. And that will make sure that it overwrites the version that you had before. So I'm going to leave that exactly as it was by the default. Click next again, and it says ready to go. And off it goes installing the software. So it only takes less than a minute really to install. And there we are, ready to go. So you'll see there's an option there to create desktop shortcut. We've already got one here. That will just update it to make sure it's pointing to the newest version, and then to launch Quirkos when we finish. So we'll click finish there and bring up the newest version of Quirkos. As I said, that's version 1.4. So there we go. You can see at the top of the screen here at any time what version you're currently using, and that's also in the help button here. And you'll see that the list of projects that I was working on here is still there. I can choose any of these. So I'm going to take the referendum example, which is one of the example projects on our website, and load that up. I'll make this full screen as well so we can see what's going on a little bit better. Now, I'm actually going to just make this a little clearer by turning off the numbers here. And I'm going to zoom in on some of these bubbles a little bit so we can see what's going on better here. Great. So this is a project which I created in the old version of Quirkos. What happens in the new version is when you open a file for the first time, which was created in the older version, it creates a backup of that version and then updates it to the new format. Now, there is a slight difference in the file format between the old version and the new version, which means that if you create a new project in version 1.4, it's not possible to open it in one of the earlier versions, that's 1.32 or earlier. Now, I know this is very frustrating when software developers make this happen, but we had to do this to make sure that people could work with password protected files across all different platforms. It's something that people have requested, and that required a slight change to the the file format. But there's no reason why any of your collaborators should be working with an older version of Quirkos. It's a free update. There haven't been any changes to the system requirements. So everybody should be on the most up-to-date version. So you shouldn't have a problem with sharing with people. Otherwise, people will just get an error message. So again, I'm just going to go back to this coded example here. This has created a backup file now of the project as it was. And we've now got the project that we can go through here. Now, the first thing that you should hopefully notice about the new version of the software is, although the interface is pretty much the same, we've done a lot of work behind the scenes making the software a lot faster, especially when doing things like tabbing between files like this. Now, this was an activity that in the old version used to take sometimes as much as 10 to 20 seconds to load the source. This now all happens pretty much instantaneously and comes back to the place in your source where you previously were. So this has got a lot better. And it also should be a lot faster updating itself when you've had added codes to it. So if you saw lag before, that shouldn't be a problem. And that really is the kind of the major advantage. It should be a lot snappier, a lot quicker to use, especially when you're working with very large sources like these, or very large projects where you've got lots of sources and lots of coding. Another thing that we've really improved the speed of is the search function. So results should now appear a lot quicker. So if we put in a word like trust in here, you'll see that the results should start to load much snappier. I mean, this is across, I think there's about 40,000 words in this project now, and results are coming back really quickly, even in larger projects. And of course, again, you've got all the options here to load more of the source around the key quote, and you can drag and drop straight from the search results. Now, another improvement that we've made to the search results is you'll actually see here a little number on the search bar, and this now tells you the number of results found. So this is not actually the number of times that that word occurs in the document, it's the number of results which are returned. It's important to make that distinction. So if somebody says yes, yes, and you're searching for yes, and that those two instances of yes happen in the same quote, in the same little bit of the sentence, then that will be counted as just one result. But this gives you a good idea if you're putting through a word like trust, or I don't know, if we put in something like skeptical, you can get a kind of quick idea about how many results, okay, nobody's using that word, there are for particular terms. Another improvement which we made to the search is this little button here. So there's now the options of an and or operator when you're refining your search criteria. So here you have the options to, for example, refine your search to stuff that's been coded. So if you want to see just the results for a particular word, put in something obvious like yes within the messages. You've always had the option to do that, and we can choose any of these different codes here. And you've also always had the option to add something else to it. So we could see something that comes across the two of those. So now you've got the option with this operand operator here to change between and when that's selected, for a result to come up, it must exist in both of these criteria. So this is now showing us everything coded as messages and everything coded as yes, which contains the word yes. And if we change that to or, it's everything in messages or in yes. If we update that search, yeah, 103. So a lot more results. Now, this is useful because of the different options that you have here. So you also have the source properties, for example. So you can look and see people from particular gender or an occupation, and you can keep adding up to 5 different criteria here. And you can either make those a more refined search with the and, so those criteria have to meet all of those criteria, or you can change it to the or operator, which basically is like a kind of plus statement. So it's in this or that. So that's gives you a lot more power over the results that you get from your search results. Now, the other thing to show you is the changes that we've made You'll also see in terms of the speed improvements that when loading the coded text, so for example, if we want to see everything that's in the Scotland topic here, this again loads a lot faster, will resize a lot faster, and we'll give you a lot of options here to change how you can code and look through this text. So you can click on these here to see the results, and you'll see that these load a lot quicker with all these results, hundreds of results in here, than they previously did in large projects. We think this has also made it a lot more stable. It's a lot less likely to hang or freeze. Although don't forget that if you do have some kind of disastrous situation and the software does crash or your computer crashes, the file is being constantly saved, so you shouldn't actually lose any of your work. Just it will give you a warning when you open the file again that it might already be open, but you can continue to click through that and just keep on going with your project. Now that's the last thing to show you here. I'll show you on a smaller project because this is a little bit going to generate a massive report here otherwise. If I choose the breakfast example here, which again is another workshop example which you can download straight from the website, and you'll see that we've got things, our tabs along here, and we've got a possibility here to create the report. And when we generate the report, we've added a new section which people have requested, which gives you a summary of the codes. So before we had a summary of the sources and the source properties, but now for the first time, we've also got some information about the code. So you see, first of all, we have the sources summary. Now this tells us information about the source. So the length of the source, you can see here in characters, how many quotes were coded to that particular source. But if you look now, there's also this section here called the Quirk summary, and this tells you a summary of the code. So for example, with this healthy code here, this is there's no description for any of these codes, but here there's the author, so that's DT, I added that one, and that's such and such a date and time. And you can see here also the total number of codes which are attached to that. So there are 8 codes in that theme. So that's much easier to get that kind of information out of the project. You've also got these useful statistics here now. So this is the total number of codes across the project. So across all of the different quirks or themes, we've coded 72 sections of text. And also here you've got the total number of quirks. So that's how many themes we generated here. And there's 22 of those. You'll also see here the parent and grandparents. So for example, we can see here that children, that's a subsection of family. So that's the kind of parent node. A little bit redundant there, talking about children and parents. But for example, toast, that's something that we eat for breakfast. Yogurt is something that we eat for breakfast. And if there's 3 different levels there, so if there's a grandparent, you can also see that as well. Now, all of these options in the report you can turn off with the tick options on the right here. So we can turn off the quirk summary there, and now we can see our property summary and some of the other bits and pieces here that we can extract from the text. So that's pretty much everything. Is no real kind of major changes to the interface here. We've tried to fix a few bugs which people have reported, but mostly focus here on the speed improvements. I should bear in mind that we have another update which we're planning to do within the next 6 months, and that's going to add quite a lot of new features next time. It'll mostly be a feature improvement, and this is going to be something that we really want your feedback and input to. So if you have any questions at all about the software and you want to suggest things, our contact details are in here, and you can find us on the website or on our Twitter feed. We'd love to hear any suggestions that you have for new features, things that don't work the way you want them to, because all our updates are driven by our users. The one final thing to bear in mind is that we've also now included the manual for the software. So you can click directly on the download manual button there, and you'll always get here the latest manual. And this has been updated now for the new version of Quirkos. So all those new features and capabilities that I've listed are there, and the screenshots have been updated to show you new things in the search criteria, for example, and also in the reports as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. Don't forget there's a 1-month free trial to download, and all these videos and support materials are available on our website if you needed help at any time. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Very short one this week. Next month, we're going to do a much more general kind of training overview just to update that. So do come along, watch live, ask any questions, or come and see us next month. Good luck with your research.